decades later, now understanding how the mind really works, that our outside circumstances have nothing to do with our state of mind, our emotional state, or why we are in our situation. That we are not living in a world of our outside circumstances. We're living in a world of thought. And for me, that was so powerful, because we all think these thoughts are real, and we all take the bait, including myself. We're all having this human experience, this psychology that we are living through. We are not really living most of our days in the present moment. We're living in our thinking. Mm-hmm. So I got really curious about that. Really, I fell in love with really picking apart thought for what it is, and understanding how thought has nothing on me.
Right.
Right.
No, and that's powerful, Sam. That's powerful because I posted something on my Instagram a week ago, I think, and it says that how we respond to a situation literally has the power to change the situation. And I want you to piggyback on this. And if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, which, by the way, I'm never wrong. But never, of course. But I've talked to a lot of people, and it's in today's society who wear anxiety and ADHD or even OCD as a tag, even though they haven't been diagnosed. But it's just common to say, "Oh, I'm just OCD. Oh, I'm just ADD. Oh, I'm just this. I'm just that." Right? And when I've worked with people, not even the clients, but just people that are around me, and I said, "Why do you think that?" Because of this, I have to look at my phone all the time. I have to do that. I said, "Well, let's try these things, and we'll work through different things and address the thought. What's going on? Why do you feel that way?" And about a week or two later, they're like, "Wow, I don't feel the need to be on my phone all the time. I don't feel this." I said, "Yeah, because you're not ADD. You're not OCD. Even if you're diagnosed, you're not these things. The way you respond to the situation literally can change the situation." So I want your thought on that. How you feel about people who wear it as a tag, especially those who have not been diagnosed.
It's very easy to fall into that stigma. We are, our brain's a sponge. Our brain's one big hard drive. It's a machine. It's not our conscious self. It's not our spiritual self. So, when our brain picks up on things, it looks at patterns, and our brain is conditioned over time, through life. When we're little kids, it's when our brain is the real freshest, when we are the present the most, right? You don't see little kids calling each other, having an OCD moment, right? I have a niece and nephew, and they do silly things all the time. They'll have a temper tantrum. I don't call them, they're having a psychotic, they're not having a psychotic moment throwing stuff, because they return back to baseline, to their essential nature, and forget it ever happened. And we do that too, but because we have a thing called memory, we log it in our hard drive innocently, right? When people see that as, "Oh, I'm OCD," it's because innocently they're misunderstanding how the equipment works. We have this brilliant machine. We have this brilliant technology that is called thought and thinking. And the brain is the greatest translator. It's the translator, the conduit, or the bridge between the world of the physical, the form, and the world of the formless, what's going on inside. But the brain doesn't understand the world of the inside. It becomes Google Translate. Have you ever spoken to someone from a foreign country and you're trying to impress them? You pull up Google Translate and you try to talk to them in their native language, and it comes out completely scrambled, and they're like, what does that mean? It's like, no, that's the Swedish. I'm speaking Swedish, That's exactly what the brain does sometimes. And when we see that the brain does glitch, and the brain does the best job it can to interpret the outside world, and it's going to mess up because it doesn't know the difference, again, between a saber-toothed tiger and a ham sandwich that we're looking at that, oh my God, it might have E. coli in it, right? It can't differentiate it. And when we can see that, we can also make peace with all these labels. And we get conditioned to put these labels on very innocently. And when I saw that for myself, and I was seeing it, and then seeing that we have this salad bar thought. It's like going to Vegas, and I love going to a Vegas hotel like the Bellagio. And I don't even gamble, because I'd get lost in the floor. I get lost in the casino floor somewhere, end up in like, who knows, end up in Circus down the street. And so there's this buffet of thought that we can choose from. Now, when we go to the buffet, like, I'm a vegetarian, so I'm not going to eat 25 pieces of broccoli because I'd probably get sick and turn green. I don't know what happened. And if you like meat, you're not going to eat 10 pieces of steak, right? Because you end up getting sick and throwing up. And you're not going to eat 10 pieces of cake because you'll go into a diabetic coma. No, I'm just kidding. It's too much sugar and you get sick. We have that same kind of choice with thought. And especially with someone like myself, who can be impulsive sometimes and can be, I can interrupt people, and I can be sometimes anxious and overstimulated, because my brain, and there's nothing wrong with my brain, just like every other ADHD brain, although we're told that there's something wrong. You need to fix this. You need to manage this. You need to take medication for this. You need to treat this. And we're conditioned to hear that, through our lives. I heard the same thing, and that didn't make any sense to me, because what am I treating what's not broken? If I was the only person that had ADHD, I said there's something wrong with me. I'm the alien on the planet. I just came down I'm the ADHD alien coming down to see y'all. Well, there's hundreds of millions of ADHDers out there. So it's a neurotype. There's not a dysfunction. If all our brains do the same thing, and there's hundreds of millions of us doing that, then how is it broken? How is it that we need to fix it or manage it or treat it? Now, medication's great because it's like a software update. Because the brain is like your iOS operating system. It's like your smartphone or your whatever phone you use, or your MacBook Pro. So medication, is a great, it's like training wheels. You don't need to take it all the time, especially for ADHD. And there's nothing wrong with that. But once we see there's nothing wrong with our brain at all, that our brain just works differently than people with a neurotypical brain. And even I have a problem with neurotypical because it's kind of a Venn diagram, and no brain is really
Right.
So
Typical.
So I was able to see that for myself. And then I started seeing cracks in the system. And I love, doctors are amazing. There's some amazing doctors out there, amazing therapists, right? My father's a doctor. They're well-meaning, and they do the good work, but they've also been conditioned backwards. They see, especially therapists, they're looking at the problems instead of looking at the strengths. How can we improve and make a client's strengths more powerful? How can we harness that more? How can we point to that more versus fixing something that, if you think about it, whether it's behavior, cognitive behavioral therapy, we're doing exactly what the brain's doing, right? We're putting things in, we're compartmentalizing things, and we're pulling levers to change the behavior. And that's a lot of work. Right. We don't need to do any of that. We can point to our well-being. We can point to that by looking at our thinking and being the conscious observer of our thinking, and seeing that we have this thing, this space, this liminal space, this sweet spot called presence, flow state, quiet, that's within all of us. That's who we are. We make our greatest decisions in life. We fall in love. We become, a brilliant health coach and weight loss coach, and we do all these successful things when we're not in our heads. We don't make all the important decisions in our brain. The brain's great for modulating organ systems, but that's about it.
So Sam's gonna have to stop complimenting me, people, because I don't take compliments very well. But thank you very much.
You're doing a good job.
I try.
You try.
The first episode I did that was connected to mental health was with Christine of Sepian. And that was a very good interview because we talked about inner chatter. And that's where you basically broke that down a lot. So thank you very much because
Mhm.
we talked about inner chatter and we talked about energy and how to
Mhm.
focus our energy. We are not our thoughts, but we can change our thoughts. And go ahead, Sam.
I didn't mean to interrupt you because you can't. You can't change your thoughts. You can try to change your thoughts. You can't stop thought. And I didn't mean to correct you. Anyone that says they can, whether it's through any kind of behavioral modification, and bless their heart, they're trained that way. It may work temporarily. I mean, I've done CBT, I've done EMDR for trauma, I've done all this stuff. And again, I'm speaking from my own experience. Ladies and gentlemen, don't listen to my words. Do your own research. Find out for yourself. So that's my disclaimer, by the way. So it worked for maybe like a month, maybe less. But what happened?
You revert.
You can't stop thought, and it came back. But what happened was I realized that, like, if I don't give thought energy, if I don't, thought is thought. It's
Right.
it's about as real as it's about as real as nothing. I mean, you can't touch thought. I mean, you don't have a pet named thought. It's not running around your house. It's energy moving through you. It has to move through you. If you try to use behavioral techniques, try to push it down, use, thought stopping, changing thought, changing behavior, changing all this, it's just going to make it louder. With my anxiety, because I used to have lots of panic attacks driving on the freeway, especially down in on the 405 freeway. I mean, I can tell you that I've done all of that and just made it louder. Maybe there's some temporary relief, but it would all come back. And when I saw that, like, if I don't give thought, if I don't give meaning to the thought, I myself can make that decision whether a thought coming through my head, I'm going to give life to or not. Right. I just was in I was just in a ADHD seminar, very straight ahead traditional therapist. And she was talking about CBT and therapy, and everyone is an ADHD or has got issue, the prefrontal cortex and their executive functioning is not working right. And the brain is not producing enough dopamine and all this stuff. And I'm like, but right now I'm not ADHD, Dr. So-and-so. I'm really calm and focused and just listening and enjoying.
Right.
So how is that? If these things are not working, does that mean, is it all the time? And if it's not all the time, if it's just thought and the brain's producing thought, if I don't give life to it, if I don't create meaning around something, then it doesn't take on life. You don't have to do anything, and you don't have to beat yourself up if you do, because there's still nothing wrong. Go ahead.
You said something that's absolutely